Short horror films have been popular on platforms such as YouTube thanks to their easy access.
Their popularity is due to their simplicity that is required by their short form and their genre.
They can range from extremely short ones like Joey Green's and Paul Huston's Polaroids that last 3 minutes to longer ones like Matt Sears and Tim Knight's 7 minutes long I Heard It Too.
They can also be made by amateur filmmakers like Dylan Clark's Behind the Frame. These are a few examples of the different types of horror short that can be found online. All use the same techniques to build tension from the start and to keep the suspense until the end.
A great example of a director that makes short horror films on YouTube is David Sandberg. His latest short, Not Alone in Here, made in 2020, is the one I will be using as an example to explain the storytelling techniques used to create tension in short horror films. The short uses storytelling techniques that are typically used both in the short film form and the horror genre. These techniques allow the tension to build and create suspense. From the very beginning of the short, the title sequence sets the audience's expectations with a music build-up that creates a tense atmosphere. In this scene, the slow-moving camera gives the hallway a dreadful atmosphere, and since we already know that someone or something might be hiding in the house, the shot keeps the suspense going and gets the audience to wonder what could happen next. Here, Sandberg uses lighting techniques and plays with shadows that create an unsafe feeling in the audience and maintains the suspense of what is upstairs that it created before with the hallway shot and the noises coming from the floor above.
This montage scene uses a juxtaposition of fast cuts and long takes that is a technique of the horror genre seen elsewhere in films such as Psycho and Scream.
It creates a sense of emergency and panic with the fast pace, and when it suddenly breaks it with a long take, the audience fears that something is about to happen. The use of point-of-view shots is typical in the horror genre. It puts us in the shoes of the characters and forces us to feel like that, to be scared with and for them. Thomas Sipos explained this in his book Horror Film Aesthetics, saying, POV shots can build tension or fear in many ways. They can suggest the presence of a threat. Here, however, Sandberg uses a POV shot that puts us in the attacker's place. It feels like we are watching the character from the closet and without her knowing. This reminds us that something is lurking in the dark and that something could attack the character at any time. In the second montage scene, Sandberg creates the tension with the use of sound. He uses a slow-building, suspenseful music followed by a complete silence. In his book, The Horror Film, Hutchings explains the importance of sound in horror films and its impact on the viewers. He adds that silence plays a big role in creating tension by saying, in horror's world of sounds dissociated from their sources of startling bangs and bumps of dissonant and atonal music, sometimes the most unnerving sound is no sound at all, because if it is quiet, it usually means that something unpleasant and noisy is about to happen. Here, Sandberg uses POV shots again, but this time making the viewer the victim. Sipos explains that using POV shots to put the viewers in the place of the victim forces them to identify with the victim and helps to heighten the tension in the scene. So just like the character, we see that there is a presence in the room, and the blurriness of the shot creates extra tension as we have no idea what to expect. This is juxtaposed with an extreme close-up of the character's eyes. Sipos notes that extreme close-ups can function as exclamation points by magnifying an actor's features. They intensify their emotions. The use of both techniques in the scene makes the viewers identify with the character even further, and we sympathize with her fear because we feel it too. Then suspense is amplified by the tense music and the fast pace created by sudden camera movements and quick editing of shortcuts that make us feel the hurry she is in. This is followed by a long take of the phone coming from under her bed, creating the feeling that we are the monster under her bed and that she is in danger. This technique of fast pacing is also used in this climactic scene that starts with a long take of a close-up of the character's face. Tight framing and close-ups are used to create off-screen space. Sipos explains how tight framing and off-screen space create tension by saying, unseen and unknown threats lurk off-screen waiting to pounce upon the characters, and because they are so close to the frame line, they are close to any threats lurking off-screen. So this shot allows us to see the character's emotion because it uses close-up and keeps the suspense going thanks to the important off-screen space. Of course, as it is the climax scene, the sound is also built in tension, using complete silence followed by a loud noise to make viewers jump. Hutchings says that with startle moments, sound is crucial, as much as, if not more so, than image. This climax scene, as is often the case in horror films, combines most of the storytelling techniques to make the viewer's final scare a great one. The short uses typical techniques throughout, but there is one unusual element: the use of voiceover to make the viewer identify even further with the character as we are in her head. In his book The Voice in Cinema, Michel Chillon says of this that we might call this an effect of corporeal implication, or an involvement of the viewer's body, when the voice makes us feel in our body the vibration of the body of the other, of the character who serves as a vehicle for the identification. In other words, this use of voiceover allows an even deeper identification with a character. This is essential to the horror genre, and that is why all these techniques are often used, but it is also important to the horror film form because it needs to capture the audience's attention in a very short amount of time. In Towards the Poetics of the short film, Rees explains, the strongest way to engage a spectator is by appealing to our general concern for other people, whether in a general form as in interest or curiosity, or in a form as such empathic emotions as compassion, sympathy, and admiration. This need for identification with the characters is due to the impossibility of complex characters or plots in the short film form. Indeed, because of its brevity, the short film is often simple. In discovering short films, the history and style of live-action fiction shorts, Perennou says, favors the narrative economy and unity that are enabled by its most basic storytelling conventions. A simple story that focuses on a single event, character, situation, or moment with no subplots. Fewer characters, usually only one or two central characters, with few or no secondary characters, and a brief story time. So according to Perennou, part of what makes a good short film is its simplicity, with a basic plot and with as few characters as possible. In agreement with this, Raskin explains in The Art of the Short Fiction Film that due to the lack of time in the short film form, change in general but growth in characters especially is beyond the range of the short fiction film. But this brevity is also what allows so much tension in short films. Poe in The Philosophy of Composition says, "It is needless to demonstrate that a poem is such only inasmuch as it intensely excites by elevating the soul, and all intense excitements are through a cycle needs brief." Here Poe argues that it is thanks to its shortness that the short film form can be as intense and suspenseful. To conclude, both the short film form and the horror genre are characterized by their need of tension. They use similar storytelling techniques that allow the building of suspense from the beginning until the end of the short. Mixing the short film form and the horror genre, then, is a great way to make a suspenseful and tense short film like Not Alone in Here.